He grabs her wrist and he tells her he could break her wrist. Johnny's accusing me of, we flew out to the Bahamas to his island. He was selling the yacht to J.K. Rowling.
He changed his pants in front of me. He would pass out in his own sick. You know, and then he'd walk around saying he didn't have a problem. Until he did. Until he couldn't support it anymore, and he'd get clean and he'd get sober, and then he was this thing again. This thing that made me feel so loved, that made me feel like my soulmate, as cheesy as that sounds. I just felt like he knew me. And I recognized something in him, either some part of my makeup and my background or something, that I just got it. And I loved him and understood him. It just got so scary, the other part of him. And in June, I wanted to leave him. I didn't want to leave him. I wanted to leave him. I wanted him to get better. And he expressed to me so many times when he was in that period of getting clean and sober, he would tell me, "You saved my life. Baby girl, you saved my life." Everyone else was saying that to me, and I believed it. You know, if everyone else was saying it, he was saying it. I thought, just like his other friends who had gotten clean and sober and stayed that way, his older friends, these rock stars that he hung out with that had like gotten clean and sober and they had 20, 30 years, something, you know, I thought, and Johnny told me he would be that person, that he was going to be that person, and I believed it. I had so much, I looked at that man twice my age, you know, I was 25, looking at this man twice my age, and I saw hope and like promise. I had so much hope. You know, the whole thing, kids and growing old together, sort of hope. If it was just for this one thing that he could do, which would save his life, which would be to get clean and sober. And I believed it. And I wrote this letter to myself, among many letters to myself.
Objection, hearsay.
All she did was refer to that she wrote it. She isn't saying what she said.
I'll overrule for that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I wrote that letter because I thought it would be read to him. I could read it to him. I could say it to him in intervention, you know, in help. And he would later thank me for, as he did, as he used to thank me all the time for saving his life.
Did there come a time later in June that you finally met Johnny's kids?
I'm sorry. I finally met them in the summer of 2013. I had been with Johnny for over a year, maybe like a year and a half at this point, is my best guess. And I was dying to meet them, you know, dying to get to know these kids. I felt like I knew them already. I had his daughters, and Jack's, both of his kids' art on my fridge, and I had never even met them. You know, Johnny had brought them over one day and kindly given them to me, and I had them up on my fridge because I felt like I knew them, just how much he talked about them. And I finally got to meet them at the Lone Ranger premiere at Disneyland, summer 2013.
So then I'm going to jump to, and it's not much of a jump, to June 26, 2013. There was a plane ride to Russia with Johnny. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Well, tell the jury about that particular event.
Well, that was the first and last time I ever decided it would be a decent idea to do drugs with
Johnny. I did MDMA with him on the plane, which was as stupid as it may sound. I just had never, I was very against, obviously the cocaine had been a problem. I was very much against him using cocaine. I was against the drinking, supportive of the sobriety, but I'm 26 maybe, ish. And I wanted, I had never heard of anyone making MDMA like what I had done MDMA before. I thought it's a lovey drug. It's it's like a kind of, I never knew anyone to get violent on it. And, I thought, well, this is a relatively contained environment. Maybe this will be different. Maybe I can be a good cop and be part of the, I don't have to be the lesbian counselor all the time, as he would say. I could maybe be the fun girlfriend. And I learned the hard way that was not happening.
So what happened?
Well, we took MDMA. I took a capsule. It's like a powder in a capsule. I took a capsule, and Johnny took several. I didn't count, but it's very different when you see someone take one versus a handful of something. But nothing seemed to set any alarm bells off, and things were going fine until the flight attendant got involved. The flight attendant came by, was engaging with us. I don't think that they're really, it felt like it was before the effects of the drug took over. It was relatively quick, soon after we first took our dose, if you can say. And the flight attendant, Johnny offered her some. She, of course, said no. And then after some back and forth between them, Johnny convinced her that it would be fine. So she acquiesced and took MDMA with us. And within, a few minutes go by, and the same thing happened that happened on the mushrooms at Hicksville with the woman, Kelly Sue, who I've told you about. Flight attendant got friendly with me, but just friendly, just like MDMA friendly, was kind of, I'm a woman, he's a man, so she was naturally, I think, more comfortable with me physically. She kind of leaned into me and kind of sat on the arm of the chair I was sitting in. I mean, after all, she's on drugs, and Johnny grabs her hand and tells her not to touch me, and she kind of reacts in a way like she's defending herself and was trying to clarify, and he grabbed her by the wrist and slammed it down on the table and told her he could break her wrist. And I remember thinking, I've heard this before. And that was a pattern that would repeat itself a few times. These things would happen in these kind of cycles where there would be a certain element that would get filtered for a while, whether it's an accusation or a gesture, and that would be the thing that he looped on. I called it loops. And he grabs her wrist and he tells her he could break her wrist. She cries instantly, denies it, is so apologetic. Eventually he lets go. She goes to the front of the plane where the flight attendant, normally hangs out, and the doors close, and I don't see her much of that whole flight. We land in Russia, and I don't really remember I don't recall any violence on the plane between Johnny and I, but I remember feeling this tension because I was wondering when it was going to aim at me, because he had this particular thing about, at the time I understood he had a particular thing, a sensitivity about me and women, because I had a female partner. So I was feeling nervous, anxious, and I remember we had a very quiet ride, at least I didn't say anything, to the hotel. And almost as soon as we get into the hotel room, Johnny's accusing me of effectively having engaged that, caused that. I, of course, deny it, point out what I thought was obvious, that, you know, like we'd given her drugs, you know, wasn't an affair, wasn't, you know, and I'm trying to argue and defend myself at the same time. And at one point, Johnny just shoves me, like, I mean, just shoves me hard. And I fall back onto this glass table. I catch myself on the table. I don't know how some furniture got knocked around. There was a, you know, I'm trying to stand up for myself. I'm trying to stand up, literally. I'm not, you know, at this point, I don't even try to hit back or try to run. I'm in this hotel room trying to do my best to fight mostly the verbal accusations, but also I try to stay on my feet, you know. At some point, Johnny whacks me in the face, and I don't remember feeling pain or like awareness of my nose or anything. I don't remember thinking that. I remember kind of crying and feeling, I went into the bathroom and I wanted him to have I just remember wanting him to realize what had happened. I wanted him to kind of snap out of it. I wanted him to care. I wanted him to realize what was going on, because a big part of this, I felt like he wasn't aware. There was this sense that he didn't know what was going on. You know, again, I don't know how much of the drugs or alcohol is a part of this, but I remember crying. I came out at some point because I don't hear him in that room. I remember we had been arguing in the main room, but I went out to the hallway, which is where I presume he walked out, and his bodyguard, Jerry Judge, was in the hall. And I don't recall seeing Johnny in the hallway, but I remember seeing Jerry Judge, who gestured to my nose.
Objection, hearsay.
She's just saying gesture. He hasn't said anything yet.
All right, gesture's fine. I'll overrule the objection.
He gestures to my nose and holds out his handkerchief, like a cloth handkerchief. And I instantly felt really embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I don't know how else to describe it. I just felt like just really embarrassing. And I went inside the room.
What, if any, injury did you have?
I had a little blood coming out of my nose. I didn't know it. I didn't feel it at the time until Jerry gave me Jerry let me know.
Okay.
And I went inside the hotel room, and it, as embarrassing as it is, I remember just wanting Johnny to say sorry. I wanted him to realize it. It's so stupid, but I like the emotional part. You know, I just wanted him to acknowledge that this was that he could hurt me, you know, and I wanted it to be okay. I didn't want him to think I was interested in this flight attendant. I didn't want him to think that I would capable of cheating on him. I was in love with him. I just wanted things to be okay.
Let's take you to July 9, 2013. Did there come a time that you went for a ride you went to the Bahamas and went on a ride for the yacht with Johnny and his kids?
Well, it's less like we flew out to the Bahamas to his island. He was selling the yacht to J.K. Rowling, and he wanted to kind of have a goodbye trip on the yacht. So it was docked off the island, and I went with him and his kids, who I had quickly developed a bond with and loved. And we brought a friend along with us, I think, to kind of help. And yeah.
Okay. Tell the jury what happened on that trip.
Johnny was upset that he had to sell the boat. And he was off the wagon again. but he didn't want to tell his kids, so he was hiding it from them. He was putting it in coffee cups and drinking, and the behavior just kind of like, he was upset, he was emotional, and he just, you know, that's how he dealt with it, just drink. But there's just no off button with Johnny. So he just kept drinking, and the behavior kept getting more obviously drunk. And Lily Rose, his daughter at the time, was young, just like maybe 14. And she started to get panicky and started to ask me questions about his drinking.
Objection, hearsay.
Without saying what Lily Rose was saying, please continue on.
Sustain the objection.
Thank you.
So she was asking me questions about the drinking, and was very upset.
Sustain the objection.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't say what Lily Rose said.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you can tell gestures,
Sorry.
you can tell, and you can say what you and Mr. Depp said, okay?
Sorry. So she was upset, and Johnny we were with the kids, and he kind of threw himself off the boat in a half playful way, like a dead fish kind of way. I don't know how to describe it, almost like a belly flop. But we were on a skip, like a smaller boat parked next to the yacht, and he's jumping. Well, he jumped off the front of it, but kind of in a face, chest forward way, like it looked a little scary, like not something somebody would do if they're completely okay. You know, it was started off all of us kind of taking turns jumping off the edge of the yacht into the water, and then he at one point kind of throws himself over, and it looked a little scary, the way his body fell into the water. And Lily Rose started to cry and expressed to me that she
Objection,
was
hearsay.
upset.
As sustained.
You can't say what she said. You can tell expressions or observations, but you can't say what Lily Rose said.
So
Okay.
Lily Rose is crying, and then the crying becomes like a panic, like almost like a panic attack. Like rapid breathing, crying, lots of questions, and I'm holding her, kind of comforting her, and Johnny comes in, and within a few seconds, I realize that he, you know, kind of shifted his attention on me, and then he seemed very angry. He asked Lily Rose to leave. Lily Rose leaves, looks at me, leaves, crying, and Johnny, I don't remember the words he used, but starts accusing me of kind of like telling on him and calling him you know, a drunk in front of his kids. I hadn't done that. I was actually trying to protect Johnny. It didn't feel like my place at all to share that with his daughter or anyone at the time, other than adults who might help with it, but not his kids. So I was trying to tell him, I was just trying to comfort her. I was trying to protect you. He basically was accusing me of doing this thing and of making them aware of his that he was drinking again. And he slams me up against the side wall of the bedroom of the we were in the bedroom this whole time, but up against the wall of the cabin, and slams me up by my neck and holds me there for a second and tells me that he could fucking kill me. And that was an embarrassment. I was embarrassing. It was embarrassment. This whole thing was a joke. It was all embarrassment. I made him feel sick. And I'll never forget. I'm very, very, very much in love with this whole family now. And he's saying I'm embarrassing to him. And that somehow stuck in me more than the I could fucking kill you. It just sounded like hyperbole. It sounded like something he was just saying. But the names that he was calling me